You're listening to the Wedding Biz Network, the voice of the creative entrepreneur. Hey everyone, it's Andy Kushner with The Wedding Biz, in which I conduct in-depth and revealing interviews of icons and those who I feel are the next generation icons of the weddings and event industry. And this is all to provide you with education and inspiration. I'm feeling inspired because I just got back from a great trip, and I hope all of you are also having a chance to have a break. I went for 5 nights with my wife to Park City, Utah, did a lot of hiking, a lot of good eating, and then met my daughter in Colorado, where we ended up doing the same thing, a lot of good eating, a lot of good hiking, a lot of good bonding. It was really a good time. So again, hope you all have a chance to have a break as well sometime this summer. So if you missed last week's episode, it was with Carrie Goldberg, founder and creative director of CLG Creative, a fashion styling and creative consulting firm. She's been on the show several times, always a good listen. And today's guest is Jack Ezon, CEO and managing partner of EMBARK Beyond, a luxury lifestyle partnership specializing in bespoke travel experiences. EMBARK Beyond has the ability to access royal palaces, private homes, luxury yachts, global landmarks, and more. From negotiating hotel, air, and other travel-related components, they act as a full concierge service to develop the perfect itinerary in the world's most sought-after destinations. Jack has been on the show before, where we got his backstory. Now we continue with where he's at today with the travel industry with great tips and advice. Enjoy my conversation with Jack Ezon. Hey, Jack, it's so good to have you back on again. For people listening, your last interview with me was actually a year ago, number 379. 379. Wow. We're in the 400s now. But it was
how time flies.
Yeah, it was such a great conversation. I feel like we just had it like a month ago. It's so odd. But yeah, I'd love to get your opinion on just, first of all, overall, the state of travel, given where we're currently at with COVID. I mean, God, we all thought this thing would be over. Here we go again. It's starting to get worse. What do you think about the overall state of travel?
It's probably more fragile than it's ever been. It's definitely the hardest environment that I've ever worked in my 22 years in my career. And I think it's the same for everyone. I even talked to a lot of planners. I mean, it's a fragile work environment because if we thought the floodgates opened a year and a half ago, the dam totally just broke. And there's not enough people working in the hospitality space for all of our spaces to pick up the pieces. And so the biggest challenge is navigating through that to give a client a great experience, because the buck stops here. It stops with me. It stops with every one of you, because we're the client advocate, and we need to do our best to anticipate all those things that are going wrong, all those unexpected prices that keep going up. Everything is in complete flux. Not to scare people from staying home, and they're not staying home, but there's some things that we can do to try to alleviate that.
What is one of the biggest things that we can do to alleviate it? Anything in particular?
Yeah. So I'll take just a few.
Sure.
Number one, it's easy, much easier than an event. It's number one, buy travel insurance. If your flight's delayed and you miss your flight, or if your flight's canceled and you lose 2 nights in a hotel that you're spending $1,000 or $2,000 a night, you're out of luck usually, because everybody's so busy. They're not giving that money back, but insurance will. And insurance will cover you if you have to do something else, like hire a car to drive you 3 hours because you missed your connection. They'll pay you for luggage that's lost. So number one, it sounds so basic, buy insurance. 2, luggage is getting lost. So if you can avoid going through a big hub like London Heathrow, Paris, Charles de Gaulle, Atlanta, I would try to avoid that at all costs. Make yourself stay in an airport longer with a 3-hour layover instead of an hour and a half or an hour. And please get air tags if you're going to check bags. Try to ship your luggage if you can. And what I always recommend is bring a carry-on. If you can't pack in a carry-on, we understand. Bring a carry-on with 2 days worth of clothing, just in case there's a problem, because there's been more and more problems. So things like this, anticipating what can go wrong and trying to come with a plan A, B, C would really be helpful.
It's funny you mentioned the carry-on. My wife taught me how to travel almost anywhere for any length of time with a carry-on. Like she went to, can you imagine? She's real fashionable, so she's got shoes and everything. She went to Europe for 3 weeks with a carry-on.
God bless. You see, it's the opposite. I never travel check bags. My wife's like, I have shoes. How is that possible?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
but I never check luggage.
Yeah, well, in these days, I am definitely not checking luggage. So also, are there any new locations or venues that you're really excited about?
Yeah, during the heart of COVID, we were all saying over tourism is over. We're never going to go to these places like St. Mark's Square in Venice with hordes of people. And suddenly lights went out and we're back to worse than where we started. And so my advice to people is go to the unexpected, obvious places. You don't need to go where everybody has the same 310-516-212 area code. It's just overwhelmed right now with Americans. You want to go for a better cultural experience. And look at cities like Vienna, Budapest, Prague, or I just came back from Spain. I can't tell you how blown away I was from Madrid. What a wow city. The shopping, the restaurant scene. 4 luxury hotels opened in the past 8 months in one city that never had a luxury hotel. And if you go to Portugal or Spain, in the south, you have these gorgeous resorts, easily now accessible, but not overrun with Americans like you have in Italy and south of France, which God bless, we all love that. But I think we need to introduce new experiences for our customers and our clients to try to open their mind and also give them a better experience.
You know, you mentioned, I remember in our last conversation a year ago, you talked about creating what you termed emotional impact experiences. And I wonder if you have a couple stories of some favorite ones that you've planned in just the past year or that you've planned that are about to come up. Because you had some great stories last time.
Well, thank you. Emotional impact is so important to us because we believe that loyalty is won from the heart and not the pocket. And the one thing a luxury client really wants at the top of that, pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is really to feel touched, to feel loved. Sadly, most of our wealthy clients, and you can probably see this yourself, don't get love at home and they look for it. And that's what we're here for. So I don't know, just last week we had a couple who's obsessed with Capri and they love it. And they brought all their family back to Capri. And so they were celebrating their 25th anniversary. We did a whole display of lemons because they love the Capri lemons with all the accoutrements. And attached to each lemon was a little toothpick with a photo representing every year of their life together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was so nice. And then we had cookies with every year a child was born. The gentleman had his new business, et cetera, et cetera. Just meaningful touch things. And what did it cost us? Maybe it cost us $50,
Right.
nothing.
Right.
But the impact of something like that says, we're thinking about you, we're touching you. It's not just a bottle of wine or a bowl of fruit, but it's all about you. And that's what's really so important to people.
Yeah, that's a great idea. What about trends? Are there any new trends that you can identify or that you've started?
Sure. Look, we don't need to tell you that everybody's celebrating like it's 1999. I mean, it's insane. People are coming up with anything they can find, but the 50th birthday party is like the hottest new thing. Sometimes I think even more popular than a wedding today. So, look at all these opportunities to celebrate. And I don't just mean a whole production. People are traveling in groups. It used to be all about a multi-generational family, and that's still happening, where you'll take 10, 20 people from different levels just to be together again with your family. But since the pandemic, we're seeing people traveling in smaller groups, like 8 couples, 6 friends, whatever social groups or affinity groups people have, they're traveling together. And not like it's a bus tour, they just want to reunite. And so reunion experiences are really at the top of the driver. Also, art. Art is a huge driver of travel now. People really want to redecorate their homes, design experiences. People want us to set them up with personal design, interior designers to travel with them in local markets, or art specialists to recurate their art collection. It's actually fascinating to see what people want to do in their home and use travel as a platform for inspiration.
Wow, that's really interesting. I love that idea. And I'm glad to hear that art, not that it was gone and came back, but that it's a priority like that.
Yeah. Another thing that's really interesting, people are starting to get back to work, as we all know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's only going to, how much it's going to continue, but we've been doing shopping trips and hiring local shoppers, not just shoppers, but really stylists. And so you may have a stylist for a wedding. Obviously, we know a lot of great stylists in our community, but just to curate a new wardrobe and not maybe for a whole family. And they'll go to London, Paris, Rome. And with the dollar so strong, it hasn't been this strong in 20 years. So it's 1-to-1 or hovering below or above 1-to-1 with the euro. People are going with empty suitcases and coming back with new wardrobes and new styles from different cities. And it's really another great driver. And it's a great time to go do that because of the price of the dollar against the euro.
Geez, it's interesting. This never occurred to me. I mean, I know about people who have means who will, go overseas just to shop. But for you to actually curate a full experience, because obviously this goes without saying, I'm sure that in addition to getting them personal shoppers, setting it up for them, you're arranging for meals and you're arranging for whatever they can do during their breaks and some other experiences in addition to the travel. I mean, wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah. There's never been a better time. Again, in 20 years, we haven't seen the dollar this strong. And so a stylist is going to look at your whole life, right? And where you're going to work, what are you doing, weekends looking like now. And really, people, think about it. People have been in Lululemons for 2.5 years. Right. They really need to restyle.
Right. So. Nothing against Lululemon, but...
Love Lululemon.
I want to make sure that you're aware of 2 other shows that are on the Wedding Biz Network. First, The Business of Being Creative, hosted by founder and president of The Business of Being Creative, Sean Lowe. Sean's consulting firm is focused on providing practical advice to those in the business of being creative. Tune in every Tuesday to hear a new episode chock full of topics and advice for creative businesses. Also, check out the 2 seasons of Stop and Smell the Roses, hosted by the one and only lifestyle and event design expert, Preston Bailey. Preston speaks with such an honest voice. I know you're going to thoroughly enjoy hearing him on this unique platform. You can find both shows at theweddingbiznetwork.com or on your cell phone's podcast app for both The Business of Being Creative and Stop and Smell the Roses. In our past, also a year ago, the interview, you said that you like to stay relevant by embracing new ideas and taking measured risks, and that you're not afraid of failure, and that we really need that in order to learn and grow. Do you have any examples of some, what we would call failures and risks that you've experienced in the past year?
Oh my God, failures. We could always start with many. But look, we're taking a new risk now. We're just opening up an Africa division because Africa is a huge market segment. People love to go reconnect with nature. And we're taking a risk on that. We are also doing something really unique. Trying to bring people together in the travel community because people don't work in offices anymore. And so where you may have a typical trade show, we're bringing about 150, 160 hotel owners, managers, cruise ship, CEOs, local tour companies, and bringing them all together with 150 of our advisors. So one-on-one ratio to the Bahamas. We're going to do 3-day different workshops looking at how do we elevate the customer experience together. And so one day is all about, as you said, emotional impact. How do we create a better EI, emotional impact experience for a guest? How do we, work better together to elevate the customer journey and look at every step in that process, whether it's price quoting, arrival, departures, and where do we work together as an industry to improve that? And how do we communicate that better? Again, the idea is to listen and understand all of our challenges and goals to be able to serve our client better. And so let's see. It's a big investment and it's a big risk because it's never been done before.
Yeah.
But it's a long-term goal of working together with partners to try to, again, make that customer feel different, feel great, and feel new.
Before we go, related directly to weddings, do you have a story in which you accomplished all this? And again, the emotional impact, and that would be really fun for us to hear.
So we had a wedding client. They had a beautiful wedding that we were privileged enough to work with a great planner in our community with. And they were really great with their guests. It took place in the Rockies, in the mountains. And so that when they went on their honeymoon, by the time they got to their room, we really wanted to incorporate elements of their wedding in their room. And so we had the montage of the weekend that they just had with all their friends, wishing them well on the screen as they arrived. And of course, you get there very emotional. It was beautiful. We had their wedding song playing when they got back to the room with monogrammed frette pajamas. And, again, wedding song with little cowboy hats for them. Again, nodding to where they just came from. And photos from the wedding from an amazing photographer. Just really, I think, delicately put around the room to make it feel like they're home.
No, I love that.
Small little touches make a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, that can give the greatest emotional impact is the tiniest thing, depending on what it is. Actually, I am going to ask you one more. How can a planner best utilize your services?
We're here to make the planners look like heroes. We're here to help support them, and we're here to help them in a time where staffing is short, take a lot of the labor off that they don't really excel at. Most planners are incredible at design, decor, flow, orchestrating an amazing experience. I don't know the difference between a rose and an orchid, Andy,
right?
But I do know logistics and travel. And a lot of people don't want to get bogged down they don't want to know what Aunt Trudy's dietary preferences are and deal with her thinking about if she should go a day later or a day earlier. But we do that every day. And so we love to, put a revenue share together with our planners and help take this off and partner so they could focus on what they do best and we could focus on what we do best. And it's proved to be a winning formula.
Yeah. Well, Jack, man, this was chock full of advice in a brief period of time. I know people are going to love it. And I'm actually taking a few notes. Like when you talked about, in particular, getting travel insurance. I used to do that when I would do these big overseas trips. I haven't thought about it. And especially now, about that. Is it possible? Is there like a COVID clause that you can get these days?
No COVID clause, but being sick is being sick.
Yeah.
So whether you had something called the flu, a cold, or they called it COVID, wouldn't matter. As long as you were too sick to travel, you will be covered.
There you go. Okay.
Easy, right?
Yeah, seriously. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate this a lot.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show, Andy.
Thank you for listening to my conversation with Jack Ezon. Be sure to check out their website, which is embarkbeyond.com. With social media, on Instagram, they can be found at EMBARK Beyond. And on Facebook, it is EMBARK Beyond Travel. And be sure to check out the show notes in your cell phone's podcast app or at our website of theweddingbiz.com. You can see some great pictures that our guests provided. And also, if you could share this with friends and colleagues who you think would benefit from this interview, that would be wonderful. I would certainly appreciate that. And also, if you could give a review wherever you get your podcast from, that would also be very much appreciated. And so I want to mention next week's guest, and that is going to be the wonderful designer, producer, planner, David Stark out of New York City. Always a great interview. So be sure to check in next week, and we'll catch you on The Wedding Biz.